across the 87. I'm in the backseat with Brad, waiting on a word from him.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
I want to welcome everyone. We're at If It Be Your Will podcast today. And you just heard Jason and I just talking about our weather a little bit. I have Jason P. Woodbury from Jason P. Woodbury and the Nightbird Singing Quartet, who have a great record that's going to be hitting the record stores and the streaming services near you on March 13th, 2026. So keep your eye out on that. And I had Jason because he also has a podcast called through Aquarium Drunkard, Transmissions, and been a long time listener. So when his record came out, I was like, I gotta go and see if Jason wants to come talk about it. And he said yes. So Jason, thanks so much for, joining me here today to talk a little bit about your music side of your musical journey that you are on.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a real treat. And it's always nice to talk with other podcasters and music fans. And I appreciate you taking the time to want to chat.
Oh, I love it. And I just want to start off by saying this latest record, and this is a self-titled, Jason? Is that correct? I mean,
kinda, yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to look for a title, and there's a quote on it, but is that considered the title of the release?
I'm calling the record, Jason P. Woodbury and the Nightbird Singing Quartet. So it serves as both introducing the band name, and then also that's the title of the record. For the longest time, I thought, I've previously released music under the name JPW, just my initials as a sort of band name. But with this one, right up until we started making the art and finishing it up, I was thinking of it as a JPW record, and that the title would be Nightbird Singing. And then at some point, for various reasons, it started to feel a little bit more like I wanted to put my name on this and to step forward in a certain way that maybe I hadn't with previous releases. And at that point, I thought, well, I want to honor the guys that played on it as well. And so I thought, the Nightbird Singing Quartet sounds very classy. And so I decided I was going to go that direction. And once I've kind of figured that out, I started thinking, well, maybe I'll call it something else, Jason P. Woodbury and the Nightbird Singing Quartet, and then the album title. And then I was like, or that is the album title. And that's where we landed.
Right on. I love the process too. That's just thinking about naming the title, people. Imagine all the complications going into every single release. I often mention that these records don't just happen. They are labor intensive. There's a lot of tears, sweat, and love put into them. And it's great when a new record comes out because we get to kind of explore a little bit of that process. And maybe, Jason, we can rewind a little bit. I'm so curious about, when did music really start to kick for you? Were there some tipping points early in your life where music was going to have to play a big part of what you were going to become?
Yeah, I think that really pretty much as far back as I can remember, music has been a big part of my life. I guess not every kid, but like most people, I grew up with my parents listening to records, and I remember my dad playing music around the house, Boston records or, Pat Travers, or my mom listening to the radio nonstop. And so I always was attracted to music, always drawn to music. I always felt a pretty deep connection to the musical arts. And then as I grew up, I started playing music in school, band. I played clarinet all through middle school, junior high, and then into high school, all through high school. And then also got involved on the spirits. My family attended a church in Coolidge, Arizona, where I grew up, and I was drafted at a pretty young age, like a pre-pubescent age, into leading the congregation in song. Wow. So singing, sort of song leading. Okay. And And so I guess if you take all of that and you combine it, just music has always been a huge, huge part of my life. And after I graduated high school and I was kind of, let's say, tinkering with college and all of that stuff, I kind of felt like at one point it was like I'm gonna do one of two things. I'm gonna try to figure out how to be a preacher, or I'm going to chase this music thing. And I got a job at an independent record store called Zia Records. I was living in Coolidge. This is up in Phoenix, the capital city of Arizona. And I chased after that and started. And basically, once I was there, there was no denying it. I was just obsessed with music, surrounded by music, loved spending every day hearing sounds from a huge variety of genres due to my coworkers playing them. And, that whole time was playing guitar as well and playing in bands and things like that. So, started writing about music semi-professionally and then professionally, playing music at the same time. The whole religion aspect sort of drifted away for quite a while. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to be a preacher, but I will sort of be an evangelist for my favorite records.
Totally. And I think that's a very good descriptor of what we want to do, what we tend to want to do. Like our passion for music is like, we'll do almost anything to get other people to hear it when we like it. It's like that sharing is huge. I love too the idea of this early exposure to song and singing. Oftentimes that's where a lot of bands, musicians would quote back on, saying that's where it started for me, singing in a choir or, a barber shop or something where they were brought in with the elders, to kind of have that higher voice. So I appreciate that as well. And at that record store, obviously there's other employees and stuff playing records and stuff, but what were some of the records then at that time that you were really kind of were becoming a part of your religion of music, like that they were like foundational for something that you would later build upon?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like this was about 2006, so just about 20 years ago, and that means that there's a certain kind of resonance anniversary-wise for me. But I know at that point, I was already deeply, deeply obsessed with music when I started working at the record store. But when I think back to, let's say, that first year at the shop, I remember becoming very obsessed with Big Star, Alex Chilton, Chris Bell, Jody Stevens, Andy Hummel. And I remember just being crazy about Number One Record and Radio City. And I had the manager of the shop, a guy named Michael Leddington, was like, hey, if you dig this, you should check out Chris Bell's I Am the Cosmos, which was a posthumous release by Chris Bell after Big Star, after he had left Big Star. And, taken in conjunction, those first two Big Star records and then third by Big Star, I Am the Cosmos, and a bunch of Alex Chilton solo records. All of those things really instilled in me a sense of loving music that had been underappreciated in its time, but then sort of lauded more after the fact. And so those were big, big records for me. When I think back on that first year, I remember riding my bike to work a lot, listening to Fox Confessor Brings the Flood by Neko Case. That was a big one for me.
Great record.
Oh, fantastic. Destroyers Rubies was another huge, huge one. Loose Fur, which was it's like a Jeff Tweedy and Glenn Cochi and Jim O'Rourke. They had, at that, right around then, I was already a pretty massive Wilco fan, as I remain. But that Loose Fur record, Born Again in the USA, I listened to that one an awful lot. And some days I'm like, I think this might be might be my favorite Jeff Tweedy project, But
right.
so
great one.
those are a few records that I can think of. But at the same time, it was also this great moment where my taste was being expanded, exponentially. I was checking out things that I just didn't have any reference for. There was another record store across the street from Zia called East Side Records, and I would go over there on my lunch break and then look through those records, buy them, and bring them back. But I remember going in once, and they were playing some reggae music, and I knew reggae a little bit, but I didn't really have a whole lot of understanding of it or its history. It was Lee Scratch Perry's Return of the Upsetter, and I was just blown away by no, sorry, not Return of the Upsetter, it was Super Ape, Return of the Super Ape. And I remember picking that record up and just having my lid flipped by it. So there was stuff like that going on, and I was hearing avant-garde music really in-depthly for the first time, and drone metal and folk music and country and, everything. So, yeah, that was a really, really fertile time for me as a fan.
Yeah. And how did you kind of glean from all those different, sounds that you were listening to figure out what you wanted to do, like your direction? Like what informed a lot of the style that you decided that you wanted to pursue in your own music?
Well, I don't know. I think I've always been drawn to, power pop or, garage rock or things like that. So especially in those days, the band that I was in, a group called Hands on Fire, was like really drawn to that Big Star side of things, chimey, guitar rock with catchy melodies. And I think, was also really interested in like soul music at the time and remained so. So I was kind of trying to meld sort of, R&B soul touches with power pop and rock, and people like Todd Rundgren, who I think just excel at that sort of synthesis, were really, really big touchstones for me. And so in those days, that's what I was drawn to. And I think that some of that carries through. In fact, some of that I think is more present on Nightbird Singing than even previous records of mine, because there's a little of that back in the mix.
Yeah. And I mean, I listened to a bit of earlier stuff, but I really focus on this latest release that you have coming out in March. And I hear all of that in it. And it also has this other kind of alt-Americana, like it does have this dusty a dirt boot kind of like thing going on too, which I love. I mean, how did you go about, I guess, Jason, putting this record together? How long was it in the making? Like, where did all these songs come from? Were they all written kind of like in one kind of like point in time? Like, could you kind of like open the door a little bit behind how this record came to be?
Sure. In 2022, I put out my the first record under my my own record, JPW. That record was called Something Happening, Always Happening, and those were songs that I had written primarily during the sort of early pandemic days. And on that record, I worked with a friend, Zach Toporek, who is a longtime collaborator, a guy that going back all the way to those early record store days, is about when we met. We had practiced last night, and we were talking about that meeting not long after, and not long after I had started at that store. So he helped me with that record, in addition to my collaborator, Michael Krasner, who produced it. And Zach and I just kept kicking ideas around, and we started writing together a little bit more aggressively than we ever had. And that resulted in a whole other record together. But we just kept at it. And around probably 2023, started playing with a kind of set group of guys. Rick Hines, who's a pedal steel player and guitarist. Rob Kroller, who plays piano. Andrew Bates, who plays bass and upright bass, double bass. And then Zach on drums and keyboards and guitars and vocals, So, but we started playing together a lot. And sometimes the shows were billed as JPW. Sometimes they were billed as JPW and Dadweed, which is Zach's project. And then we had that project together. But anyway, we just started playing a lot of shows and working together a lot. And having that like cast of players in the mix started to inform kind of the stuff I was writing. And so I think that these songs were written, some were written on my own and kind of stretched back to right after that first record. Some came into the mix later, and some were written with the group as a whole, where everybody was contributing a little bit. And so, yeah, I think when it comes to that sort of dusty, desert feel, I can't really help but be sort of drawn into that zone by my surroundings, and I'm a lifelong desert dweller. But of course, like bands like Calexico, Giant Sand, even groups like the Gin Blossoms, who are a little more on the adult contemporary top 40 pop rock side. I think even though that's the case, they have a little bit of that dusty, desert quality. And so I was really drawn to all that stuff and wanted to bring that into the mix. And I think that some of the songs accentuate it even more than others. But that's a little bit of where that comes from. But this record kind of came together over the course of a couple of years, 3 years almost.
Well. And what's your process, Jason, with writing? Like, how does a song develop for you to the point where you get to that crossroad of, I'm going to continue on this one because there's something there, to let's put that on the back shelf for the future. Like, what do you do once you hit that crossroads with a song?
It depends. I think there are a lot of examples of it working different ways. There are songs where I write it and I'm like, I know what this thing is. I know where I want to take it. I'm going to show it to the guys and I'm going to say, Rick, here's the idea for the melody I want you to play. And Rob, I was thinking you could do something like this. And so there are examples like that. And then there are other ones where, I bring in something that's a lot less concrete. And it's like, I've got this idea for a verse and I've got a chorus and I've got a little bit of a melody or a lyric, and that's about it. And then we work on that and it starts to take shape. And then there are even, kind of weirder ones where we start doing something and I go, actually this is sort of like this song that I have in the back catalog, or that this idea I had, and I can take that stuff and put it into this new shape or form and then have it develop. So there are like a kind of different ways that it works, but for sure, there's a lot of stuff in our shared Dropbox that, that I haven't revisited, or, just I here's an idea I had and I just captured it, I recorded it and I uploaded it, and I'll listen back and I'll go, that one's not anything. And then sometimes weird stuff happens where a year, 2, 3 years later, you go, wait a second, actually that thing could work here, or that actually is a good idea. And so I don't know, there was just a really long stretch where I'd get home from work and I would just record improvisation, or meditate, think about something, and then kind of like have it tumble out, And then there's been stuff where, I've had songs come out fully formed, I've had songs come out in fragments, and combine the fragments later. So I don't feel like there is, for me at least, there hasn't been one specific way that it works.
Right.
And that decision time of like, is this one worth pursuing or not, is sort of a pretty intuitive process.
Right. Interesting. I like how you describe your sandbox, where you play and how you play. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how are you feeling about this? So, I mean, this record, it's about 3 years in the making-ish. How do you feel kind of it being done now and kind of listening back to it? Or have you just kind of like shelved now, like oversaturation? Like, where are you at with this record?
Well, the beautiful thing about working on a record for like 3 years is that there have been periods of all of that. There have been, 3-month stretches where I don't want to hear any of these songs. And then there have been stretches where I'm listening to them a lot. And lately, since sort of announcing it and putting it out into the world, I've been listening to it and having friends and collaborators, strong collaborators play on a thing makes it for me oftentimes where I feel like I'm listening to a record that I didn't have all that much to do with sometimes is how it feels to me. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a cool feeling. I feel very fortunate and honored to have these guys contribute their energy and time and spirit to this thing. And so lately I've been listening to it and kind of like thinking to myself, yeah, I dig this. I like this record. And that's a nice feeling. And then there are times where I listen to it and I'm like, oh, I would have done this differently if I had thought about it, or I wonder if people are going to think that part is a little whatever, But for the most part, I'm able to kind of push that stuff off to the side and enjoy it for what it is, and enjoy it as a collaborative thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea. And like, what does it hold? What's happening come mid-March, when you launch the record, or what do you have following up with the release of it that you can share with us?
Well, we're going to have a release party here in Phoenix, and I'm really hoping to play some shows. We played some gigs in LA in the past and other Arizona towns. So I'm hoping to get out on the road a little bit in like April or the summer and share it. But yeah, we're planning a big release party here, and then just hoping that people just are able to get on board as they are, and that we can open up the door to some new listeners. Totally.
Well, you've already done that, and you haven't even launched it yet. So kudos, Jason.
Thank you.
One last thing I just wanted to ask you about is the label. So Always Happening Records is a label that you've started up now?
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And what is the future hold for this label that you hope comes to fruition?
Well, the previously we worked with a great label called Fort Lowell Records, which started in Tucson and now it's based out of North Carolina. And the folks there, James and Tracy, are great, and we've really enjoyed working with them. But, I think I just found myself thinking a little bit about, well, these are my songs and they mean a lot to me. And I've always had it in the back of my mind, as somebody who's kind of worked in music kind of on every front. I've done liner notes, I've done radio, I've worked in record stores, I've, done work with a merch company here in Arizona called Hello Merch. And so I guess I was just sort of thinking like, maybe the time has come for me to take my grab bag of skills and sort of apply it to my own thing. And so the label was primarily started to put out this record, and but I immediately got in touch with a friend, Joel Marquard, who has a really cool art pop project called Spiritual Warfare and the Greasy Shadows, and he put out this pretty wild double LP, and I thought, well, maybe I could put out the double LP for him, and then, just starting this thing, that didn't quite shake out as a feasible thing. But I thought, well, what if we take 2 songs from it and we put it out, And so we've got another 7-inch that is shipping now and available through the Always Happening store. And so, I'm super open to the idea of working with other artists, if that makes sense, and collaborating with other people. And I think we're in a really interesting moment where the ability to share music digitally has really opened the door in a lot of ways. So I don't necessarily know that every Always Happening release will be a physical one. I have a deep love and a spot in my heart for the art of physical media. So I think that will always be a part of the label. But the ability to just share things through Bandcamp, to share limited stuff in a digital fashion, all of that's super appealing to me. So I'm hoping this opens the door for even more exploration and sort of more experimental things on my end with friends, with other people. We've started working on another record with So Zach, who produced this record, he's got a bunch of songs that he's been tinkering around with. So we're working on those right now, and maybe that will come out on the label. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens.
That's amazing. Sounds really exciting though, Jason, like this, you're just opening this door to this whole other, venue of possibility. That's really cool. And I know like there's a lot of indie artists out there always looking for, support or, somewhere where they can showcase what they're doing as well. So good on you for doing that. I'm sure it will be a great success. I want to thank you. I see we're passing my time limit a little bit, but this has been a really cool chat, Jason. And I really want to just plug this record again. It's coming out mid-March, people, but check it out. Jason P. Woodbury and the Nightbird Singing Quartet. All the best in all of your musical adventures. Be sure to check out Jason's podcast, like I said. And if you get a chance to go see his show, go and see his show. Thank you, my friend, and all the best with this record.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me about it.
My pleasure.
Shelley is driving, tear across the 87. I'm in the backseat with Brad, waiting on a word from heaven. Vivid eruption. Giant slumbering, gods when the ground moves. I wonder why I'm always stumbling, always stumbling, always stumbling. Wonder why I'm always stumbling, always stumbling, always stumbling. Other sources of fire, factory aflame, flee from the scene. I wonder if I'll go down burning, go down burning, go down burning. Wonder if I'll go down burning, go down burning, go down burning. Saucer approaches, stand and stare in wonder. Bay City driver, and I wonder if I'll get to meet them, get to meet them, get to meet them. Wonder if I'll get